Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you got your results. You're happy, and if you're sad, don't worry. Just good luck with your next step. And I'm gonna try to tell you as much as I can about bachelor degree, and hopefully, at the end of this session, you'll have a brief idea on what bachelor degree is. All right. So bachelor degree is basically. So I'm gonna cover five things. Four things, like what is a bachelor degree, the possible future pathway, why should you get a bachelor degrees, and what are the pros and cons, and what are the few popular courses. And at the end we'll have a small Q&A session, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Q&A session and make full use of it. So what is a bachelor degree? it's essentially it's essentially like after Form 6 you go to university. Previously, like in our previous Zoom sessions, we covered foundation diploma, associate degrees, and everything. But there, through JUPAS you have the option of directly going to university to get a bachelor degree. If you're aiming for a bachelor degrees, then instead of going to associate degree, foundation diploma, you can directly go to university and do a 4-year courses to get a bachelor degree. So as you can see here, like you've got vocational certificate at the bottom, and you've got foundation diploma, sub degree, and then this bachelor degrees. So essentially, after doing bachelor's degree, you can, if you want to further studies even more, you can go to a master degree. And if you want to be even more academic, you can go to a doctor degree. And so there's the general entrance requirement for bachelor degrees. Is obviously you might have heard of it outside. It would be 3322 or like 33223, that like this stuff. It essentially means like you need uh three or two threes in your main electives, and no, in your main, like in your core, and then after that, like you need at least two in your elective to be eligible to get into a bachelor degree or a self-finance degree directly from university. But this is just like the kind of like a minimum requirement. Uh it's usually a bit higher because, as you know, there's not enough bachelor degree places for students, so it gets a bit competitive. And then in the competitiveness, it's like it gets even, like the score will increase for more popular scores. We'll wait a bit for Abby to rejoin, and I'll continue in a bit. Okay. Cheers. So, what are some of the possible future prospects with bachelor degrees? So, like as I told before, after graduating from bachelor's degrees, you can directly go working. That's like what a lot of people do. Mainly, like they work for a few years, and then after that, they decide if they want to get a master degree or a doctorate. And a doctorate is basically like what you hear, like a PhD, and then sometimes you hear in professors, like some professors have like doctor something something before their name. That's just because they have a doctorate degree. And yes, you see like a 3-year PhD program. It's like either you have a master, or if you're like very smart, you can directly go from bachelor's to there. But that's like for further studies. Your focus now should be, if you are aiming to get a bachelor, your focus now should just be on your bachelor degree. Master and doctorate, that can come like way later in life. So what are the pros and cons of a bachelor degrees? There are cons and there are some good pros. And so, of course, pros is you can directly go to work. Like a lot of employers really prefer bachelor degrees because it's kind of like nowadays most students have a bachelor's degree. Like everyone's graduating. Either everyone goes overseas to study if they can't get into local university, or like if some people just choose to go overseas to study and they'll come back to Hong Kong to work, or like some people get bachelor's degrees in other institutions besides like the main universities. Basically, like almost like it's getting quite like the market, like if you're aiming for some fields, like for example if you're aiming to go in the banking sector or something like that, most of the time like almost everyone has a bachelor degree. And one good thing about getting a bachelor degree directly from secondary school is it's you can change your major easily. You might be thinking like, oh, like in whatever I'm picking now is going to be permanent. No, I've had quite a lot of students change further on. They'll either take on like majors is basically what you're gonna choose to specialize in. If you're, for example, if you're going to like the business, like call like some students have college of like some uni have called college of business, some uni calls it department of business, something like that along that line. But basically, if you go in, you have the options of picking like either finance, economic, operations, and stuff like that. And then after you pick in year one or year two, it depends again. But then after you pick, you can actually change them later on. You might have to like you might have to defer one semester. Defer means like you graduate one semester 1 year late, but it's not a like it's not that huge compared to like if you think about it. Like if you wanted to change, like it's quite easy to change if you go directly. I've had a lot of people like some like one common strategy is like for example some like students like they get high marks in DSE but they're shy of getting like a few marks from like for example doctor like the doctor program MBBS and like that. They'll go to like some health science or something like that and it'll change later on in year two and year three. So this it's quite flexible. If you directly go in year one and then you don't like what you're studying, then you can change. A lot of people do change. A con is it's completely different environment. It's very sudden. Like when you go to year one, the change it's very drastic, and you like it is a bit expensive to study for bachelor's degrees, 42K a year. So you have to make sure you can pay the tuition fees. But don't worry, like in Hong Kong, if you're not financially like stable and stuff like that, you can apply for TSFS. They have grants and loans. So like loans is you can take them and it's like very little interest rate and you pay after graduating. But they have grants which they provide like full on free tuition. They even give subsidies if you're like financially like if you need help, they'll pay your tuition fee and like they'll also give you extra money on top of that. So it's not like if you feel like money is limiting a faculty, you can just go online and look at TSFS and then read more about it. But they have grants and stuff. All right. So what are some of the popular courses? Let's see. So one main popular course like everyone's probably heard of business administration, which people say BB, which like if it's short form is BBA in something something. So it's 4 to 6 years. Usually it's 4 years, but it can depend on institutes and majors. Like some for example, if you're a city global business, it requires some semesters you have to go overseas. So that could like make your semester long, like it could make it longer. So it is very one popular course and they have like a lot of options and it's like for local students consider it like a safe option kind of in a way to go into. And then you've got hospitality. Paulu hospitality is also very popular. I'm pretty sure almost a lot of you have heard about it, and that's also quite a lot of people go to. Usually, it's like people with electives in tourism. They really like to prefer to go to this, but you can look it up. Paulu one is like I think the best in Hong Kong, and there's also other universities also have them. So you can just take a look if you want to go to hospitality. Then there's social science. Sorry, not social science. They are 4 years full-time degrees. Some universities like they'll give you jobs internship during it's something like people call placement internship during the your study year. So they'll find like you have to work maybe one semester while studying and working. And they cover a lot of stuff like criminology, psychology, and social work. And like it's a good course to go to like some like if you don't know what you want to do, like you can't decide, like you actually can't decide towards the end like where you want to go. Like you're totally clueless, like you have no direction. I mean it's very rare you're gonna be there. I mean pretty sure some of you might have some preferences now, but if you have actually nothing, you're empty, you're coming up blank, then you can consider social science because they cover very basic psychology, social work, criminology, and if you don't actually like it, you can just change later on. But do read up about it. Like if you are considering to go in just because you're coming up blank, then just research more about like look it up and see if you're interested in it or not. And then education, I'm pretty sure like a lot of it's getting very common now in brown families, or not like even like somebody's like go be a teacher, why are you not an English teacher? So it's like quite a lot of pressure on people to go study education now. So it can be 1 to 4 years full time. Like if you go to edu, you can study for 1 year and you get a degree to be able to teach. But it's better if you have like a supporting degree, like if you have a degree in English or if you have a degree in math or something like that like to know what you want to teach. It's very like generic skills and all. If you want to specialize, for example, if you want to be an English teacher, there are some government scholarship that give you a lot of money to be an English teacher, and it's actually a scheme, so you can look that up if you're interested in being a English teacher. So computer science, I like it's a very popular degree now. If you've watched Silicon Valley or so like that, like programming, it's getting more and more like prevalent in now, like in the market, like almost like every career, like programming comes into use basically almost all the time. So computer science is getting more and more popular. If you look up for the states, the best degree to get in USA is computer science, but in Hong Kong, it's a bit different. But in USA, it's actually computer science is the best degree to get, computer science and maths. So you can see it's quite like people, it's quite a good, like it's quite a good sector to get into. But of course, if you're interested in programming and stuff like that, then you look it up and think about it. But so when you go in, some university like CDU, they'll give you internship placements during your 4 year program. So like maybe in your third year, in your second year, you'll be working and studying at the same time. So it can like it's a good opportunity right there for you to get a job if you're worried you won't be able to get a job and stuff. But don't go just because you think you can. It's after coming to uni, you'll find out there's a lot of platform, a lot of ways that can help you find a job after graduating or junior or so yeah, if you want to think about computer science, it's a good degree. And engineering of everyone's, yeah, a lot of we all know the stereotype of brown like engineering degree is a good degree to get, but engineering degree was the thing to get into a couple of years ago, like probably like 6, 7, 8 years ago. Engineering degree was like the best degree to get into in Hong Kong. Everyone was trying to get into either civil engineering or like all those engineering, but due to that, it caused the engineering degree program to be more saturated. Because of it being saturated, become more standardized. So it's actually like a very like it's very fixed, like step one, step two, step three, step four till step 10. But at the same time, it's not very flexible. But so it's got its pros and cons because of it. But it's actually very fixed. And then, but just be careful when you're looking up engineering degree program. Just make sure to check the admission like subjects and stuff, because some of them require like either physics or either maths M2 or stuff like that. Like some uni do require, or some uni look very heavily upon it that they give them double marks if they like the double the marks for these kind of subjects. So just look it up and see, like just consider if you want to go into engineering degree, just like be sure not that you don't overlook this like this thing, like yeah, the scoring. And English studies is also very popular, and it's quite a like it's very diverse. Like after graduating, you can go into very diverse fields. Like I had a couple of friends who studied English studies, but then they after graduating they worked in marketing for like some companies, like the most famous I think is like someone that was working with Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. So it's very diverse what you can get into after graduating. So you can consider it if you haven't considered it before. You can look up informations on it. So before the Q&A section, there's one more thing I'd like to show you. Is in the reference, the second reference slide would be this link. The first link, as you can see, is like 2019 JUPAS admission score of 9, like the JUPAS institutions. This is very important. I can't, like this is basically, if there is one thing you'd absolutely need for tomorrow, like for JUPAS and for scores, would be this, because it has almost all the yeah, it has all the JUPAS programs and their admission scores and their weighting. So it's like they have their score formula. For example, you see 4 cores plus 2 elective subjects, which means that the universe that for this program they'll be considering your 4 cores plus your 2 electives. And as you can see, there's the weighting along it. Weighting one means they'll consider it like if it's 5 star, they'll give it like 6 marks. So make sure, like if you want to get into a program, you look up the admission score. It's going to give you a brief idea of how competitive the course is and whether or not like your scores would be enough to get in, because you don't want to waste your choice. Like let's just say you want to get into a program and then you put it in choice one, and then you look up online, you see it's a very competitive course. Like almost all the top students in Hong Kong are going to be competing for it. And if you like, if for example you didn't do quite well maybe in your maths or in your English, and you're like shy of 1 or 2 marks from reaching it, then you might have to reconsider, like see if there's a chance or not of you getting in. Because because like it will tell you what the actual entrance marks are, and it's very important that you don't overlook this. You don't overlook this. And yeah, so one to keep to be aware of, this is not very accurate because every year the admission, like the marks students get, can vary because of how hard the exam is or how easy the exam is. So some years students do better, so you can go back a few years. If you're like you're just like 1 or 2 marks short, then go, you can find the 2018 JUPAS admission score. It's gonna look like this. You can just find it. Like if you wanna see if you're like just 1 or 2 marks shy, but usually this one is quite accurate. Like 2019 one would be enough for you. So yeah, we can start our Q&A section. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to shoot them out. Any questions? Oh,
If you feel shy about speaking up, you can also send your questions in the chat box.
you can send it privately. You can up to you, however you want. There is no question, then I guess all the best to all of you. And if you come up any problems later on, feel free to approach any one of us. Feel free to approach PM. Oh, okay.
Alicia says she wants to study law. But how?
But,
if Michelle was
but
here.
we have a team member who is currently studying law, but I'll try to answer as much as possible. But if you feel like my answer is not sufficient, and you can approach it. You have just 5 subjects, so one elective. Am I correct? Just one elective, or do you have 2 electives?
Can you bring up that 2019 institution thing?
Alicia, do you have? Yeah.
Which
Hello.
Okay. You have
which institution are you planning on applying law for?
So currently, like only 3 institutions have courses in law. So which is like CU, HKU, and CityU, and HKU and CUHK are considered the better options in terms of law. But of course, all of them are still like credible in that sense. So for bachelors, these 3 are your options, but just in case, unfortunately, you're not able to get into any of these 3, then there's an associate degree in legal studies, which you can take. But yeah, so that you can articulate to law later. Yep. In case you're afraid that you might not be able to make it to law for bachelors. Yep.
Yeah, you can look up the law scores on the website and see if you apply. Yes, associate degree in legal studies
from HKU Space. Is there one in HKU Space? Associate degree? CCCU, okay.
Yes. Okay. So more.
After 2 years of associate, we can get to senior year of law.
See, that's gotta depend on your GPA. Like if you were like, of course, if you go to associate program and then you do not paying up, then like that. But then if you go to associate program and like if you try and then study, then there is a chance you can like articulate.
And also, there's this thing called a non-JUPAS. After your year 1, you can apply. You can skip year 2 associate and go to bachelor's.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this thing called a non-JUPAS you can take on your year 1. But you need to be really good, maybe top 1 in the class.
Yeah, and law is very competitive, so you gotta be prepared to like fight for it. People will be fighting for it.
Yep, that's my take.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, then all right. All the best to everyone. And if you have any other questions, feel free to DM any one of us or the group or Instagram or approach us anyway, like all through our channels. And yeah, all the best.
All right. Thank you so much, Nisar, for presenting. Thank you for your questions as well. We will be, this is a recorded Zoom meeting, so we will share this video to the mentees and to DSE students. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.